Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 1. I'm excited to share this information with you. Dave and his great crew over from the Survival Summit has come up with a new, I don't even want to say DVD, I want to call it a course, because that's really what it is. It's probably going to be 3 CDs in length, a lot of information, and the person that was the head instructor is Kirsten. And Kirsten is actually the head instructor for Boulder Outdoor Survival School out west. Now this video series really deals with the high desert, low mountain, but I've been privileged to see some of the video, and really it's worldwide. The survival skills and the primitive skills that she is sharing can be applied anywhere. It's just in that setting. So I'm going to include a 10-minute video attached to this as a teaser. You might not be interested in purchasing the video, but this next 10 minutes is going to give you some vital information on personal hygiene. It deals with a wild plant that is out there that you can use that acts like a modern day soap. I have never used this plant. I've never knew you could. I have this plant around here, and it's really not a native plant to me, but people sometimes use it for in their gardens for cosmetic looks. So enjoy the 10 minutes. He's also said I could release one more. And that one I'll release as soon as possible, and that one is actually I totally love that one. I never thought of how you could use that to do that, but I'll explain more in another video. But enjoy this 10-minute teaser. You will learn something. Thanks for watching.
Here we found a very small but wonderful yucca plant. Oftentimes you'll find them with large stalks coming out of them, and I have some other examples to show you of the variety that there are. What is great about a yucca for my use right now is that its root is filled with saponin. And so saponin is basically like soap. And more than that, the way I'm going to process it, it will be like a loofah with soap in it so that I can actually scrub. I can use this as a soap all over my body. It's also fine to use in your hair, and some native peoples in this area, the ancient Puebloans, believe that it actually promoted hair growth. It's nice to find a yucca that's already on a hill. It's certainly nice to have gloves for this, though you don't need them. But it's easier to kind of dig around them when you don't have to worry about these spines. These are very sharp. They can be processed just as our willow was processed to make cordage, except for that we would pound on the leaves and scrape them to open and get to these white fibers that run along the green leaf. We would soak them, scrape again, and then do our reverse wrap cordage. Obviously, it would be nice to find larger specimens for this. Also, they're sharp enough to use as a needle and thread, which is interesting. And once again, the ancient Puebloans used them as paintbrushes for their pottery. So a very wonderful plant, and the stalk that comes out of the middle can be used for a friction fire hand drill. Anywho, what I'm trying to do is get as much of the root as possible, and when I start, I'm just kind of looking to see what direction it's growing. And in this one, it seems to be growing kind of this way. And for time's sake, I'm not going to expose the whole thing. I'll just get started with one, enough to do a good demo of how this can be soap. One thing that I've heard about yuccas is that they're very similar to pineapples in that if I take off this top and replant it in the earth, it should regrow its roots. It's a nice thing to do when you're harvesting, to be able to put something back in the earth and let it grow again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. As I mentioned, this is a very small piece of this root. This could extend quite a distance, but for time's sake and just for demonstration, I just took a bit of it. So I've just harvested a root of the yucca, and I said I would show some other examples of larger sized yuccas. These are a bit larger, though they get much bigger. These two have their stalks in them too, and what I want to demonstrate about them is that oftentimes you'll hear people say, use a second-year stalk for a hand drill. Now, this one is actually dead. If I were to use this for a hand drill, I would get splinters in my hand. This one, however, is a second-year stalk. It's nice and straight. I could clean it up a tiny bit just to make sure that it doesn't hurt my hands when I'm rubbing down it. But it's a beautiful example of a perfect hand drill drill. Also, you know, these continue to be very, very sharp, so the needle and thread comes into play, and you can see even more so all of these small fibers that come off of the yucca leaf. And as I mentioned, you can pound them, and what's in the straight part of the leaf comes out as straight fibers, and we can process them and make cordage. On these ones, I harvested a bit more of the root. Now, the root at this point is starting to get a bit dry. But that's not a bad thing, because what I can do is peel off the bark, grind it into basically a powder, let it dry all the way, and I come up with a powder form that I can carry with me. Now, this powder form, as I mentioned, is saponin. It's full of soap-like qualities, so this is a natural soap that I can take with me. When I harvest a root straight away and it's still fresh and moist inside, I can use it as a loofah that has suds built in. So what I'll do is get rid of the outside of the bark. And it's very easy to go through, so you do want to be gentle, not trying to take off a lot of material, just the outside. The next step is to actually pound this root so it opens up like a broom, and that's how we're going to get into the juicy part. And you can already see it sudsing with me pounding just a bit. So my next step is going to be to actually wash my hands. So how do I wash my hands when I need them both? We do this thing, and it kind of looks like a water fountain. A lot of people think this seems gross at first because I'm going to put this water in my mouth and then put it on my hands to clean it. But your mouth should be pretty clean, all right? So we're good to go here. So I won't be able to talk through the rest of this demo, just be watching. So it's a massive improvement, right? I was able to clean under my nails, which, as we know, is a huge place where we can get bad bacteria into our system when we eat by having it under our nails. I was able to scrub it on out and clean off my hands. And the nice part is that I can, with a large root, just continue to use it. And I can even clean this off a bit. It looks dirty now because all the dirt from my hands is on it, but I can clean it off and reuse this part. or with a longer piece just to continue to get fresh stuff out of it. And I'll go ahead and scrub my whole body with this, my armpits, groin area, feet, legs, arms, whatever you want. And you can also, it's a little bit easier in this form, but you could use this to wash your hair. So I've dried this, ground it to a pulp. And it works the same way. So hygiene is very important, obviously, in the back country. There's no excuse to think that it's okay to be dirty. That's when we get sick. So you do need to take care of these things. Unfortunately, with a plant like the yucca, which has so many uses, it's just wonderful to harvest it and be able to have it for a lot of different reasons. But hygiene is definitely one of them with those saponin-filled roots. That's it for my hygiene lesson.